Foltest was slim and had a too pretty face. He was under 40, the Witcher thought. The king was sitting on a dwarf armchair, carved from black wood, his legs stretched out toward the hearth, where 2 dogs were warming themselves. Next to him on a chest sat an older, powerfully built man with a beard. Behind the king stood another man, richly dressed and with a proud look on his face, a magnate. "A Witcher from Rivia," said the king, after the moment's silence which fell after Velared's introduction. "Yes, your majesty." Geralt lowered his head. "What made your hair so grey? Magic? I can see that you're not old." "That was a joke, saying nothing." "You've had a fair amount of experience, I dare presume." "Yes, your majesty." "I would love to hear about it." Geralt bowed even lower. "Your majesty, you know our code of practice forbids us to speak of our work." "A convenient code, Witcher, very convenient. But tell me, have you had anything to do with Spriggans?" "Yes." "Vampires? Leshies?" "Those 2. Foltest hesitated. "Strigas?" Geralt raised his head, looking at the king in the eyes. "Yes." Foltest turned his eyes away. "Velerad!" "Yes, gracious majesty." "Have you given him the details?" "Yes, your gracious majesty. He says the spell cast on the princess can be reversed." "I haven't known that for a long time." "How, Witcher?" "Oh, of course, I forgot. Your code of practice. All right. I will make one small comment. Several Witchers have been here already. Velerad, you have told him? Good. So I know that your speciality is to kill rather than to reverse spells. This isn't an option. If one hair falls from my daughter's head, your head will be on the block. That is all. Ostrit, Lord Segalin, stay and give him all the information he requires. Witchers always ask a lot of questions. Feed him and let him stay in the palace. He is not to drift from tavern to tavern." The king rose, whistled to his dogs, and made his way to the door, scattering the straw covering the chamber floor. At the door he paused. "If you succeed, Witcher, the reward is yours. Maybe I will add something if you do well. Of course, the nonsense spread by common folk about marrying the princess carries no word of truth. I'm sure you don't believe I would give my daughter's hand to a stranger?" "No, your majesty, I don't." "Good. It shows that you have some wisdom." Foltest left, closing the door behind him. Velerad and the magnate, who had been standing all the while, immediately sat at the table. The castellan finished the king's half-full cup, peered into the jug, and cursed. Ostrit, who took Foltest's chair, scowled at the Witcher while he stroked the carved armrests. Segalin, the bearded man, nodded at Geralt. "Do sit, Witcher, do sit. Supper will be served. What would you like to know? Castellan Velerad has probably already told you everything. I know him. He has sooner told you much than too little." "Only a few questions." "Ask." "The Castellan said that after the Striga's appearance, the king called up many knowing ones." "That's right. But don't say Striga, say princess. It makes it easier to avoid making a mistake in the king's presence. Any consequent unpleasantness." "Was there anyone well known among the knowing ones? Anyone famous?" "There were such, then and later. I don't remember the names. Do you, Lord Ostrit?" "I don't recall," said the magnate. "But I know some of them enjoyed fame and recognition. There was much talk of it." "Were they in agreement that the spell could be lifted?" "They were far from any agreement," Segalin smiled, "on any subject. But such an opinion was expressed. It was supposed to be simple, not even requiring magic abilities. As I understand it, it would suffice for someone to spend the night, from sunset to the third crowing of the cock, by the sarcophagus." "Simple indeed," snorted Velerad. "I'd like to hear a description of the princess." Velerad leapt up from his chair. "The princess looked like a Striga," he yelled, "like the most striggish Striga I have ever heard of. Her Royal Highness, the cursed royal bastard, is 4 cubits high, shaped like a barrel of beer, has a maw which stretches from ear to ear and is full of dagger-like teeth, has red eyes and a red mop of hair. Her paws, with claws like a wild cat's, hang down to the ground. I'm surprised we've yet to send her likeness to friendly courts. The princess plague choker is already 14. Time to think of giving her hand to a prince in marriage. Hold on, Velerad. Ostrich frowned, glancing at the door. Segolin smiled faintly. The description, although vivid, is reasonably accurate, and that's what you wanted, isn't it, Witcher? Velerad didn't mention that the princess moves with incredible speed and is far stronger for her height and build than one would expect. And she is 14 years old, if that is any importance. It is, said the Witcher. Do the attacks on people only occur during the full moon? Yes, replied Segolin. If she attacks beyond the old palace, within the palace walls, people always die, irrespective of the moon's phase. But she only ventures out during the full moon, and not always then. Has there been even one attack during the day? No. Does she always devour her victims? Velerad spat vehemently on the straw. Come on, Geralt. It'll be supper soon. Pish. Devours, takes a bite, leaves a side. It varies, according to her mood, no doubt. She only bit the head from one, gutted a couple, and a few more she picked clean to the bone, sucked them dry. You could say, damned mothers. Careful, Velerad, snarled Ostrich. Say what you want about the Striga, but do not insult Ada in front of me, as you would not dare in the king's presence. Has anyone she's attacked survived? The Witcher asked, apparently paying no special attention to the magnet's outburst. Segolin and Ostrich looked at each other. Yes, said the bearded man. At the very beginning, 7 years ago, she threw herself at 2 soldiers standing guard over the crypt. One escaped. And then, interrupted Velerad, there was another, the miller she attacked near the town. You remember? The following day, late in the evening, the miller was brought to the small chamber above the guardhouse, allocated to the Witcher. He was led in by a soldier in a hooded coat. The conversation did not yield any significant results. The miller was terrified. He mumbled and stammered, and his scars told the Witcher more than he did. The Striga could open her jaws impressively wide and had extremely sharp teeth, including very long upper fangs, 4 of them, 2 on each side. Her claws were sharper than a wildcat's, but less curved, and it was only because of that the miller had managed to tear himself away. Having finished his examination, Geralt nodded to the miller and soldier, dismissing them. The soldier pushed the peasant through the door and lowered his hood. It was Foltest himself. Sit. Do not get up, said the king. This visit is unofficial. Are you happy with the interview? I heard you were at the palace this morning. Yes, your majesty. When will you set about your task? It is 4 days until the full moon. After that, you prefer to have a look at her yourself beforehand? There is no need, but having had her fill the princess will be less active. Striga, Master Witcher, Striga. Let's not play at this diplomacy. She will be a princess afterward, and that is what I have come to talk about. Answer me unofficially, briefly and clearly. Will it work or not? Do not behind by your code. Geralt rubbed his brow. I confirm, your majesty, that the spell might be reversed, and unless I am mistaken, it can be done by spending the night at the palace. The third crowing of the cock, as long as it catches the Striga outside her sarcophagus, will end the spell. That is what usually done with Strigas. So simple? It is not simple. First you have to survive the night. Then there are exceptions to the rule. For example, not 1 night but 3. Consecutively, there are also cases which are, well, hopeless. Yes, Foltest bristled. I keep hearing that from some people. Kill the monster because it is an incurable case. Master Witcher, I am sure they have already spoken to you, am I right? Hack the man-eater to death without any more fuss at the beginning, and tell the king nothing else could be done. I won't pay, but they will. Very convenient, and cheap, because the king will order the Witcher beheaded and hanged, and the gold will remain in their pockets. The king unconditionally ordered the Witcher to be beheaded, Geralt grimaced. Foltest looked at the Rivian in the eyes for a long while. The king does not know, he finally said. But the Witcher should bear such an eventuality in mind. Geralt was silent for a moment. I intend to do what is in my power, he said. But if it goes badly, I will defend my life, your majesty. You must also be prepared for such eventuality. Foltest got up. You do not understand me. It's obvious you'll kill her if it becomes necessary, whether I like it or not. Because otherwise she'll kill you, surely and inevitably. I won't punish anyone who kills her in self-defense, but I will not allow her to be killed without trying to save her. There have already been attempts to set fire to the old palace. They shot at her with arrows, dug pits, and set traps and snares, until I hung a few of her attackers. But that is not the point. Witcher, listen. I'm listening. After the third crowing of the cock, there will be no Striga, if I understand correctly. What will there be? If all goes well, a 14-year-old girl. With red eyes, crocodile teeth. A normal 14-year-old girl. Except that, well, physically. I see. And mentally? Every day a bucket of blood for breakfast? A little girl's thigh? No. Mentally, there is no telling. On the level I think of a 3 or 4-year-old child should require loving care for a long while. That's obvious. Witcher? I'm listening. Can it happen to her again, later on? Geralt was silent. Aha, said the king. It can. And what then? Should she die after a long swoon lasting several days, her body will have to be burned. Quickly. Foltest grew gloomy. I do not think it will come to that, added Geralt. Just to be sure, I will give you some instructions, your majesty, to lessen the danger. Right now? Is it not too soon, Master Witcher? And if right now, interrupted the Rivian. Many things may happen, your majesty. It could be that you'll find a princess in the morning, the spell already broken, and my corpse. Even so, despite my permission to defend yourself, which it seems wasn't that important to you, this is a serious matter, your majesty. The risk is great. That is why you must listen. The princess should always wear a sapphire around her neck, or better, an inclusion on a silver chain, day and night. What is an inclusion? A sapphire with a pocket of air trapped within the stone. Aside from that, every now and then you should burn juniper, broom, and aspen in the fireplace of her chamber. Foltest grew pensive. I thank you for your advice, Witcher. I will pay heed if, now listen to me carefully. If you find the case is hopeless, kill her. If you undo the spell but the girl is not normal, if you have a shadow of a doubt as to whether you have been entirely successful, kill her. Do not worry, you have nothing to fear from me. I'll shout at you in front of others, banish you from the palace and the town, nothing more. Of course I won't give you the reward, but maybe you'll manage to negotiate something from you-know-who. They were both quiet for a while. Geralt. For the first time, Foltest called the Witcher by his name. Yes. How much truth is there in the rumor that the child is as she is because Ada was my sister? Not much. A spell has to be cast. They don't cast themselves. But I think your congress with your sister was the reason the spell was cast, and this is the result. As I thought. That is what some of the knowing ones said, although not all of them. Geralt, where do such things come from? Spells, magic. I don't know, your majesty. Knowing ones study the causes of such phenomena. For us witchers, the knowledge that concentrated can cause such phenomena is enough. And that and the knowledge to fight them and kill them, usually. Besides, that is what we're usually paid for. Only a few demand the reversal of spells, your majesty. As a rule, people simply want to defend themselves from danger. If the monster has men on its conscience, that revenge can also come into play. The king got up, took a few paces across the chamber, and stopped in front of the Witcher's sword hanging on the wall. With this? He asked, not looking at Geralt. No, this is for men. So I heard. Do you know what, Geralt? I'm going to the crypt with you. Out of the question. Foltest turned, his eyes glinted. Do you know, sorcerer, that I have not seen her? Neither after she was born nor later. I was afraid. I may never see her. Am I not right? At least I have the right to see my daughter while you're murdering her. I repeat, it's out of the question. It is certain death, for me as well as you. If my will falters. No, your majesty. Foltest turned away, started toward the door. For a moment Geralt thought he would leave without a word, without parting gesture. The king stopped and looked at him. You inspire trust, he said, although I know know what a rogue you are. I was told what happened at the tavern. I'm sure you killed those thugs solely for word to spread, to shock people, to shock me. It's obvious that you could have dealt with them without killing. I'm afraid I'll never know whether you are going there to save my daughter or to kill her, but I agree to it. I have to agree to it. Do you know why? Geralt did not reply. Because I think, said the king, I think that she is suffering. Am I not right? The Witcher fixed his penetrating eyes on the king. He didn't confirm it, didn't nod, didn't make the slightest gesture, but Foltest knew. He knew the answer.